All right, Shalom. All right, let me get straight into this lesson. But I'm gonna be going back into this black and white um, pseudo. When I say pseudo, I mean fake ethnicity, right? So I'm gonna get into this very short clip, this video. Then I'm gonna get into this lesson. But we're gonna go back into this because you have the majority of our people and the majority of the people in the world, out of their ignorance, refer to they'll say the black man, or the black woman, or you'll hear these Edomites refer to themselves as being white. But check this out real quick.
People say, well, then how do you get black people and white people? Actually, there are no truly black people or white people. People say, I'm a white person. I don't want to be a white person, to be honest. Not right now. I've got too much to do. See, look, I can prove to you I'm not a white person. That's white. If I look like that, you'd be calling 911.
And I love when they do that. Let me back it up a little bit more because he's showing you the stupidity of the world. You know what I'm saying? Watch this.
I've got too much to do. See, look, I can prove to you I'm not a white person. That's white. If I look like that, you'd be calling 911.
Right there. So you see that book that he's holding in his hand is the color white, right? He's not that color. His flesh is not that color. But this is the spell, the witchcraft, the indoctrination that you're under, and pretty much the whole world, especially in the so-called Americas, right? So-called North America, USA. This is the witchcraft. This is the lies that's been pushed on you ever since you was a child, but it's nothing but a lie. And many other lies that's attached to this. So this is what people call themselves out of their own ignorance. Give me 1 second, let me get to this lesson. And that is to show you the indoctrination, brainwashing, the stupidity of our people that continue to call themselves a crayon color, right? They use the complete opposite, right? They said black and white. That's the complete opposite of each other. Them are crayon colors. But people call themselves that as a ethnicity, right? Who created this? Where did this come from? Let's get into this white narrative. It says that hadn't been invented yet. It says, but then in 1681, so the year 1681, we see the first instance in history where the word white is used in a law controlling marriage. Maryland's let me see, Miscegenation, Slakia, Miscegenation law in 1681 punished and prohibited marriage between a so-called white person and specific non-so-called white persons. This was an invention of the colonies. Do you hear this? So prior to 1681, no race of humanity referred to themselves as being white, right? So let's go here. Let me show you more. Let me get all into this lesson. But going back, matter of fact, this book right here, it says the birth of a so-called white nation. It says the invention of white so-called people, right? So this is that Jacqueline Batalora. She's a PhD professor, whatever, some along those lines. But she actually wrote this book that goes into the madness and the creation of this white race, right? But because when you go into what the word white, Salakia, mean is associated with some positive, purity, light, cleanliness, right? And when you go into the term black, it means wicked, evil, demonic, right? Sickness, sin, etc. is associated with something negative. So this is the one of the main reasons why they did this. And through your intense indoctrination and your brainwashing, you repeat this without even think about what you're saying, right? So let's go here. It says the United States Census Bureau uses the following minimum race categories as set by the Office of Management and Budget. It says so-called white, so-called black, so on and so forth. So this is done through your government, right? The so-called white man has orchestrated this and he's ingrained this into every facet of society, starting on your birth certificate, right? and then it goes into the school system within indoctrination. So these kids are taught at a very young age that, these pseudo nationalities or ethnicities, right? They made up, right? But once you keep repeating something to a child for so many years, they start to unconsciously say it, without thinking about it, right? So let's go here. Give me 1 second. So let's get into this, all right? It says the truth about assimilation. It says many people believe our racial problems would all go away if we all would simply focus on being unhyphenated Americans. It says this assimilation argument is wrong. In America, assimilation into the default ethnic culture means becoming so-called white. Right here, it says at the top, the birth of a so-called white nation. And we keep saying so-called because we want to put this in your head, Jake. You have to say so-called so you won't continue to, you got to break this cycle, right? Because there's no such thing as white and black people. That's why we say so-called. And so-called is used in many facets of literature. They even use that on news, news segments, right? So-called this and so-called that, right? It said the birth of a so-called white nation. In fact, before America, the concept of whiteness largely did not exist. It says the people who came to identify themselves as so-called white previously stuck to their national identities, English, which that's some folly. But let's go along with this. It says Greek, Dutch, Swedish. And you notice the so-called white man, he got away from the biblical nationalities or ethnicities and he created his own ethnicities, right? And that's what people call themselves today, right? No, nobody go off the biblical ethnicities. That's what people truly are. But the so-called white man will turn around and say that he believed in the Bible. What a devil. It says, and they were usually fighting the heck out of each other. It says, in the dawning of the United States, it became legally, economically, socially, and militarily advantageous for so-called Europeans. That's another new word. It says European immigrants to put aside their cultural difference to form a new identity, white Americans. Do you hear this? Right? So let's go here. I'm gonna show you something else. So our people have been drilled. This has been drilled in them that they're black, that they're Hispanic, that they're Mexican, that they're Native American, and they just can't shake out of this spell, right? Because they're under hypnosis. It says indoctrinated. It says teach a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically, right? So going back into this pseudo race, this false race that they created and gave to you, spoon fed this to you, your mind, and this is what Jake is under the spell, the enchantment. It says indoctrinated, going to similar words. It says brainwash right here. Check this out. It says make someone adopt radically different beliefs by using systematic and often forcible pressure. So let's go to this term. I want to show you something. Systematic pressure, systematic influence, which is systematic pressure, one and the same, right? It says systematic influence because by default, this what everybody say. This is common speak in this country that people identify themselves with so-called black and so-called white. And when you don't talk this way, people look at you like you're crazy because you're not conforming to what the narrative been taught to you, right? And this is how the so-called white man and controls you in so many different ways without you really knowing it. It says systematic influence can refer to the use of a method or plan to influence people in a way that is organized, structured, and not random. Let's read that again. Well, let me read that again. It says systematic influence, going back into brainwash, right? Can refer to the use of a method or a plan to influence people in a way that is organized, structured, and not random. That's heavy. So all this was, you know, and woven inside this so-called American culture to label you black and label them white because of what those things mean. And now, out of people ignorance and them being indoctrinated and systematic influence, they just it's on autopilot. Psalms 37 and 12. And I went into that definition, systematic influence, right? Because Jake won't say, even if Jake know the truth, they won't say they're trying. And you got to use wisdom with all things, right? But they are conformed to these ethnicities that they've been, these pseudo ethnicities, rather than going to the truth, right? Because they trying to fit into society, right? Right. Go back here. Psalms 37 and 12. But I went to systematic influence. I want to show you this. It says systematic influence can refer to the use of a method or a plan to influence people. I want you to remember that. Let's go here. It says Psalms 37 and 12. It says the wicked plotted against the just and gnashed upon him with his teeth. It's the wicked, right? Who was the wicked? So-called white man, right? How do you marvel at that, Jake? That should be obvious. All right. Plot against the just. So one of these plots was to totally disconnect you from your true ethnicity, which are Hebrew Israelites. And these people are so dumbed down and stupid when we tell them that we're Hebrew Israelites, they not understanding what we're saying out of their ignorance. We're saying that's our ethnicity. We're not black people. We're not African American. We're not Hispanic, right? That's new speak, right? They plot. So one of these plots that they did was to conspire, right, to get together, right, in secrecy and give you this black, Hispanic, these pseudo ethnicities. It says plot. It says a plan made in secret by a group of people to do something illegal or harmful, right? And the harm was to disconnect you from your true ethnicity and create this confusion with these pseudo nationalities. Right here, it says a secret plan or scheme, right? And that was, they used these boulets, like Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson. They started using that term in 1988. African American, he's a boule. So the so-called white man used him to influence our people. This was a plot, a scheme. Isaiah 29 and 15. It says, woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. It says, and their works are in the dark. So they doing it in secrecy, right? They got something called the Illuminati. The Illuminati operates in secrecy, right? That's why people cover their eye up, show one eye symbolism to show their allegiance to the Illuminati, which would be the international banking families, the so-called white man. And they say, who seeth us? So they know the masses of the public they don't know what the elf is going on. They're oblivious to this. But we know. It says, and who knoweth us? So let's go to Braden Study Bible. It says, woe to those who dig deep to hide their plans from Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Matter of fact, I want to go to another one. Right here, hide their plans. Yeah, that's hide their plans from Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. In darkness, they do their works and say, who seeth us and who will know? Who would know? Who would figure this out? Right? And this plan was to hide your ethnicity, right? Going back into what's that? Psalms 83, right? When it's talking about your enemies, and Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is your number one enemy, and they have done many things to destroy you. I was watching this Candace Owens. She did two videos she did. It was heavy, but it's showing you all these plots and schemes that they do with the Alphabet Boys and with the media. It's deep, man. It's deep. And Jake is naive to this information because they gullible. They don't understand that the so-called white man is always plotting and scheming on you in many different ways. Hopefully, this lesson was edifying. Call Hala Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak Kodash. Shalom.